Drew, so good to see you. I wanted to talk about this really interesting article I came across about how more older adults are unretiring to keep up with the cost of living. A new survey from AARP shows more retirees are heading back to work. In the past 6 months, 7% of retirees have re-entered the labor force. What does this increase tell you about how fragile many retirement plans actually are?
Yeah. So the big first question is whether there's a retirement plan there or not, because this is something
Yeah,
you
good
should be
point.
thinking about and preparing for. And in the process of making a plan, you know, everything in life, even though you have great planning, doesn't always go the way that you're supposed to. So having some pivot
Yes,
points or some different things built in there is very important because you don't know what curveball life's going to throw along the way, especially in retirement.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. It's certainly a moving target. So, on that
Hmm.
note, nearly half of unretirees, 48%, say they return to work because of financial necessity. 41% say daily living costs were their biggest motivation. So, how do you stress test retirement income plans for inflation so that clients aren't forced back to work?
So going back to question one, talking about building a little bit of give in your retirement plan, the big thing you need to think about is, does my retirement plan include inflation? If you're not accounting for inflation, that can derail things very, very fast because we know all too well lately how much the cost of things has gone up. And if you think about the expanse of a retirement, that could be 20 to 30 years. Think about the cost of things 20 to 30 years ago and how much they've gone up and how much it will go up over that time, and how you
Mhm.
need to have that built in with those pivot points to really be sure of what's going to happen with your retirement.
Now let's talk through the emotional component. 15% who unretired said boredom was the main reason. 14% said it was to stay active. How does choosing to return to work change a client's income plan and withdrawal strategy?
Yeah, so there is a big difference between choosing and needing retirement. Um, Boredom is something that maybe some people want to retire because they don't want to do things, but then they go back to something else. But really looking in that plan and seeing, yes, is it okay to retire now? Or and you can choose to retire and still do something on the side if you want, is a great place to be. When you get to that needing to work more, that doesn't sound as appealing. But the thing is if you look at your plan and see that you need to work another year or two to retire comfortably, that still puts you in a really good place in the end, to where you don't have the yo-yo of in and out of retirement happening later on.
Right, right. That sounds very stressful. And then
Yeah.
one more stat to throw at you. The survey also found 67% of older workers say it would be difficult to find a new job today, citing age discrimination and health issues. So, from a planning perspective, how dangerous is it for retirees to simply assume they can go back to work if markets fall or expenses rise?
Yeah. So, like, thinking in that situation, if you're needing to go back to work after retiring, that means, something's come up budget wise. These are bills that you're going to have to pay and you need to work. And not having the certainty of getting that job adds a lot of stress and complication into the plan. To whereas if we
Mhm.
go back to the situation before, it's not the greatest thing to hear you need to work a couple more years. But knowing that and having a job secured and having that income there and being able to retire that one time confidently makes a big difference in that, instead of getting stuck in a situation where it's trying to make something work.
Yeah, hope is not a plan. You want to retire only once, which is why you got to stress test this. So, Drew, if
Yes.
somebody would like to sit down with you, make sure that they are set for a long and happy retirement, no matter what the inflation rate is or what the markets do. What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, so you can reach us on the phone. Our phone number is 260-488-8300. We also have a website, millardfg.com, that you can go to. There's a way to sign up for appointments on there. And for anybody that's a federal employee, we actually have a resource tab on there for some extra things to look at as
Yeah,
well.
that is a great resource because, of course, that can be a little bit more complicated if you are a federal
Yes.
employee. Thanks for the reminder. Drew,
Yep.
thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Erin.